for it.
Hey, welcome back. Dave from Idaho, and we're here installing some bees at Friends BOL. Haven't been into beekeeping that long, a couple of years. Going to share a little bit about how to install a package, some of the basic components about beekeeping and things like that. A real good thing to have at your retreat location, or if you're working towards self-sufficiency, homesteading, that sort of thing. Bees are going to do several things for you. Number one, they're going to pollinate your crops. As you can probably see a little bit right behind us, we have a lot of fruit trees in this area. Alright, they're going to do double duty by helping to pollinate our fruit trees. Also, they're going to collect something. They're going to make a harvest for us of something that we cannot collect. Okay, I can't come over here to this plum tree and get any honey out of that. But you know what? Those bees can do that for us. They can sip that nectar and they can make honey for us. Okay, so for a fairly minimal investment, and for something that really doesn't compete with anything else we're doing, they're helping with our pollination, and they're giving us a usable crop. And now some folks will say, well, you know, I'm going to keep bees for wax. You know, you're not going to get a whole boatload of wax, you know, in general. But that's not why we're keeping them. For the most part, we're going to keep them for the pollination, all right, and also for the fact that they are going to produce as a crop from something that we would not have gotten anything from, and that's the nectar from the trees. Your basic beekeeping ensemble, and this is going to vary a lot in different areas of the country. You know, if you haven't picked it up by now, the Idaho thing's a joke. We're down south. You can tell from accents and things like that. So some of the stuff we're going to be using down here is going to be a little bit different than what you might need in colder climates. All right. For example, down here we don't bother with the inner cover. There is a separate small cover that goes on the inside here. Now people would say, oh well, you know, you have to pry off your top cover if you don't use an inner cover. That's true. It's just personal preference, guys. It's like, you know, AR or AK or you know Molly or you know, or Aliski or whatever. You know, we don't need to start any debates about it or any kind of thing like that. It's just a basic video to get you started. Anywho, down here in the south, I don't particularly use the inner cover. Some folks do. You know, it does add some insulation value and such for the wintertime and things like that as well. So if you're in a colder climate, that's something to consider. This is what's called a telescoping cover. This is going to be your top cover. Typically it's made of wood with a tin type top. You can make a lot of this stuff yourself, guys. I made some of these for some of my other hives. Fairly inexpensive. Easy way to do it. Your main body is going to be, and there's different names for all these. Some people call these a deep hive body. You also hear them called supers and things like that. This is a 9.5 inch deep hive body. This is going to be our starting part for this new hive. Now later on we'll add another hive body about this same size. It's called a deep super, or it's also called a deep hive body. To build it up, so we'll have two of these stacked probably before the season's over. Then we'll start putting on shallow supers, smaller supers, that will actually be where we pull the honey from. We need to leave them some honey for the fall, for the winter times. Even down here, there's a couple of months, about 3-4 months, where it gets fairly nasty in the winter time and such. And they need to have reserves as well too, so you can't take all the honey from them. So that's this part here. Now the very bottom part, we just painted these so they're stick together already really good. The very bottom part here is what's called the bottom board. There's a couple different types of those as well. This bottom board is a screened bottom board. You'll notice it's got the screen mesh and such like that. These are all the rave here lately because of what they call Integrated Pest Management, or IPM. The idea here, you'll notice it's got this little pull-out plastic thing with the grid and such like that. Back in the day, what they used to do, they used to chemically treat the heck out of bees. I mean, they were more or less becoming crackheads, as much chemicals as people were using in their hives and such. And they're starting to get away from that more and more. The idea here with the screen bottom board is that your varroa mites and different things like that are really teeny tiny things, and they fall off the bees. Okay, they will fall through these cracks, but they won't be able to get back up. In the same token, these are big enough that the bees can walk on them. All right. The thing with the little grids and such is the idea that, okay, you spray something sticky on here, Pam or whatever, And then you go along, and every so often you pull this out and you say, okay, you count how many per grid to see how many mites you are. And there's a formula and all that good stuff. You can look that up in any of your decent beekeeping references. That'll tell you, you know, how bad you have varroa mites. So the ideas in the beekeeping seem to have changed an awful lot, even in just the last 10 years. They're using a lot less chemicals where they possibly can. This also, in the summertime, gives us more ventilation. We take that out, and the airflow is a little bit better, especially down here. That's a big strong concern, because what will happen is they will literally sit on the outside of the hive in the summertime. And when you're a new beekeeper, I know this did it to me, it scares the bejesus out of you, because you go out there and here's a whole pile of bees on the outside of your hive, and you go, oh my God, I've got a swarm. And you start freaking out, and you start freaking out. Well, what it is there's, you know, when these colonies get built up, there'll be 30, 40,000 bees, you know, in one of these bodies this size. All right, it's pretty hot in there. All right, so what are they doing? They're sitting out on the porch, just like we used to do back in the day.